All right. Hey, y'all.
Hi, family.
Welcome to Southern Sober and Sassy podcast with Christy and myself, Amy. We hope you all are doing well. Happy April. Since the last time we spoke, Christy here has celebrated 18 years.
Yes.
She sure has.
Thank you.
Yes. So we're coming today to talk about a topic that her and I were discussing actually last week, and we just had a chance now to recircle back to everyone and have a discussion on when God slams the door. When God slams the door. So we got sidetracked, as we always do, because we get together and start talking about so many things. And we were talking about how God gives us free will. But there comes a point in time that if we are willing to listen and have our senses up, God will slam the door on things to help us to understand that his protection from rejection, his protection from deflection, rejection, projection, there's a plan in all of that. And Christy said something so profound. She said, God will slam the door trying to get our attention on what he wants from us, what he needs from us to do to be better human beings and to be successful in not only our recovery, but in life. And again, going back to the free will, that is something that we have. And I know God gives us free will to see, what we're going to do with it. And in my active addiction, I was a hot mess express. I'd ride those wheels. He gave us free will, but honey, I'd ride the wheels with the devil for a long time.
Yeah. Let's put some gasoline on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, God, I'm stubborn. I'm just going to go ahead and say, I know this is hard for you to believe. I'm very stubborn, but I'm also very loyal. And sometimes the loyalty and the stubbornness and the recovery all get mixed in together. Recovery is living for purpose and having boundaries and not people pleasing and being healthy, and that stubbornness, I'm going to change them. I'm going to fix them.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift has lots of songs about fixing people, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go back to the facts, is God gives us free will, and stubbornness is not going to give us serenity. And being passive-aggressive, is not going to give us peace. And sometimes God slams the door in our face. What you gonna do with that?
Well, first of all, the stubbornness, what she was talking about, and this is something for everyone to, first things first, stubbornness does not, poof, go away. Just because I said I'm a stubborn person, it takes time. It's kind of like 20 years in, 20 years out. You are unlearning a self-destructive habit that you have done for 20 years, 30 years. Okay, so lay down the hammer, pick up the feather, and be nice to yourself. Okay, there is a difference between, learning something and trying to make positive progress with it and versus belligerent denial and saying that I'm going to stop trying to not be stubborn anymore. It's like, just first things first, lay down the hammer, pick up the feather, be nice to yourself, okay? Crawl if you must. That is still progress. So chill. It takes a good friend, it takes a good therapist to sit down with you and pull all that apart and say, this is recovery, this is friendship, this is work, this is family. Because all four of those can just come together and just get so enmeshed with each other. And then you have yourself an explosion of a beautiful, wonderful train wreck. And it's, you're like, what do? Well, you sit down and you spew it all out, and then a good friend or a therapist or us says, it's all right, girlfriend, just lay it all out on the table and we'll just do, they will pull it apart and say, let's just talk about this, talk about that, talk about this, talk about that, and separate it all out. And it's clarity, and when you're in that self-will, run riot, doing what we do so well, being stubborn, enabling, you don't even know that you're doing it, and sometimes you do. But anyway, one of the things that Amy and I talked about right before we started this podcast was, and it goes with the whole self-will thing that she was talking about, God gave us free will. God will let us self-destruct. God will close that door, but I'll go over there and open it back up. God closes it, I'll go back over there and open it back up. And God gives us free will, and it can be very painful sometimes. However, in God's world, there's the ultimate plan of God will let us self-destruct. He will let us self-destruct. But in God's eyes, he's like, eventually, she will get to the point that she will surrender, which is exactly what God wants us to do anyway. And God will come in and say, okay, I still got you. And he'll pick us up and he'll say, okay, now we really are going to do things differently. We're going to close that door and we're going to deadbolt it and we're going to take the doorknob off. How about that? We're going to take the doorknob off and we're going to take it all the way out to the outdoor trash can. Okay?
Or throw it in the ocean.
Or throw it in the ocean.
Yeah. Walk to the beach and throw it in the ocean.
Yeah. Or put it in the fire, melt it, whatever you got to do, man. For me, slamming doors, I was thinking about this earlier today, it's kind of threefold for me. I love slamming doors. Used to. I was good at it. I slam the door, or that door will close slowly. But eventually, it closes. And then number 3 is God will close it and say, absolutely not, we are not doing this. But when I was in active addiction, closing a door was preventing rejection. Closing a door, slamming a door was, I win, you lose. Go away. Don't ever come back. I have all the power. Power. And so I was very good at slamming doors. It was a survival mode for me. I was also protecting the drink at all cost, or protecting the drug at all cost. If you came through a door and got too close to me, that meant that you were getting close to my secret, whether it be gambling, shopping, drugs, alcohol, sex, food, whatever it may be, whatever the problem may be. I kept everyone at arm's distance. And so if you got close to my secret, bam, shut that door.
Yeah.
And we ain't talking again. The other one, now that I'm in recovery, is I have to trust that God will protect me and that not everyone's out to get me. And I have to become comfortable in my own skin that I don't have any secrets. And it's okay if people get close to you. And you can let people all the way in. I do guard my heart a lot, but I don't slam doors anymore. Um, I was in a beautiful, wonderful marriage that slowly came to an end. And that door was closed with me gracefully bowing down to it and very gently closing that door. That door closed very slowly, but eventually it closed. And I did it with grace, and I did it with love, and I did it with kindness. Last but not least is people in active addiction. And it can be family members that I love. Um, Here's the bottom line for me. For me, this is just me. I ain't got no business hanging out with people in active addiction. And that includes family members. And I'll open that door up. There it is again. And I'll tolerate it. And I'll love on them. But nothing has changed. And so I'll gently close the door and I'll go back home and a couple months will go by and then that door gets opened again and I'm like, okay, well maybe it'll be different this time. That's the ultimate lie. Maybe it'll be different this time. Maybe it'll be different this time. That's why we freaking keep opening it because it fall for that. Anyway, um, eventually I got tired of doing that. Who opened that door every time? That was me. Last time, I slammed it, dead bolted it, threw the key away, and said bye. I didn't say bye to the family member. I said bye to the disease. The disease of addiction was roaring its roaring its way through the lives of others. I slammed the door shut and I dead bolted it. I'm not a saint. Everyone's got a snapping point. 95% of the time, I act half right. That other 5%, you keep poking a sleeping bear, she's eventually going to wake up pissed off. And I apologized for it afterwards, but I'm not opening that door back up. Got it this time, God.
Yeah, I think he puts us in we are in situations because we go to those situations or they're presented to us and we keep taking the bait or the bite.
Yep.
And I think too, it's just struggling because when we get sober, we have this illusion in the beginning of that everything's going to be great, everything's going to be fine. All these relationships, I'm going to have the fairy tale life. And to have a first of all, fairy tales are fairy tales. That's what they are. But in relationships with family, in relationships, it takes time. It took my siblings, my younger siblings, and my older brother. It took them 6 years off and on to be a part of my life because they didn't know if my actions, they heard what was coming out of my lips, but they didn't see the hips because they withdrew. They withdrew and they didn't want to see, because they were pissed off as well as they should be. I mean, I talk about this. I won the Oscars in our family, all the mantle over my parents' fireplace. It had, Oscar stands or Oscar, whatever and I won them all for performances of my manipulation. And I won. I took them all. I have, and I look at now and I think some, in relationships for me, I do the best I can with what I have.
Yeah.
And sometimes that people pleaser and that codependent, she rears her ugly head, and it's not necessarily an ugly head. It's like little Amy. Going in and saying, choose me, choose me. And what I have to realize, Christy, is that we all want to be loved and cared for. But number one, at the end of the day, maybe God slams that door because, just like you said, it's not a maybe. He slams that door because he wants us to keep our eyes on him. That's number one. And number two is that sometimes he removes the train wreck from us before the train wrecks.
Yep.
And and also that God complex that I know that I can fix everything in my personal life. And surrendering and saying, you know what, God, this is much bigger than me, has been hard for me because of that perfection, little Amy's perfectionism, and her over functioning behavior of wanting and needing that attention. And when I realized, you know what, people are in our life for a reason and season, and if we listen to our higher power and know that in relationships people change, people grow, and that's what we're supposed to do in life is grow. I mean, that's what God wants us to. I always want to be the student, never the teacher. I mean, in my own personal growth, Christy,
Yeah.
And so God slamming the door, I'm okay with that. I just, am working on when he starts shutting it to kind of be more aware of, not to kind of, but to be aware of when it's starting to close and to allow it so it doesn't get slammed in my face. How about that?
Right.
Yeah.
Allow it. And something else too with the whole God thing and the faith journey is we are learning. It's not learned.
Yeah.
ED. It's not learned. It's learning. And I have to remember that I can make a whole lot of positive progress, but there are still more things to be learned. And God, it's a compliment when God has his thumb on you and is saying, we're going to talk about this door and we're going to talk about it again. And we don't need to be talking about it very much longer because I have a plan for you and I have blessings over here for you that I want to give you. And I need open doors and open windows. And those doors and those windows are not a part of this blessing. Now, when someone told me that got my attention because I want all my blessings. And I'm like, all right. Okay, fine. Close the door. Just because, and it's painful and it's sad. But you feel the feeling and you move on. Life goes on, man, and time is ticking. You have to shift from make it happen to let it happen. That is the difference between self-will and God's will. It is the difference between ego and humility.
Yep.
It's also the turning point of how bad do you want those blessings? How bad do you want God in your life? Some people don't want more. I want it all. I want all of God's blessings in my life. God's been good to me. I just celebrated 18 years sober. The first 25 years of my life was drunk. And I've no intentions of going back. And if God asks me to do something, I am much more open-minded to say, yes, sir. I always have to remember that all the no's equal the yes that I want.
That's right.
3 no's gets that big yes.
That's right. Yeah.
No equals yes in God's economy.
Not only that, saying no to others means saying yes to ourselves.
Self-care.
Yep. So we want to tell you all thank you for showing up for God slamming the door.
Yep.
And if you're struggling with God slamming the door in your life, we are here for you.
Yep.
All the information is in the show notes. We're here as coaches, counselors. We work with families, individuals, and give us a shout. And if you have an idea of a topic you want us to discuss, or if you have a question you want us to answer, reach out. Our info is in the show notes.
Absolutely. Like, we are very eager to help y'all. Don't be shy in asking a question or saying, hey, can y'all do a podcast on this topic? Okay. We are here to help y'all. That's why we do this.
Absolutely.
So don't be shy.
Yep. We hope you all have a fabulous day, and we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.